left us from our ashram in Vrindavan, a very holy city in India. There's 5,000 temples in that city. So every day we do like a pilgrimage of that whole city, inner sanctum, you could say. And so it's about an 8-9 mile walk. We usually do it in the time of what's called Brahma Muhurta. In yogi term, you may have heard that. Basically before the sun rises. It's described to be the best time for spiritual meditation and things like that. So every morning we'll wake up and go on pilgrimage of the city. It's very beautiful. You hear all the bells ringing, and there's so many beautiful big temples, but actually every home is a temple. Because the vast majority of every home, they're worshipping Gopala, Krishna deity, and they're doing the arti ceremonies, offering the lamps, offering incense, offering flowers. So that's been our home for our whole life pretty much. Vrindavan is, or Jody knows Vrindavan, he's dear friends, and you could say
I've seen them grow up. They were children.
Yeah, we were boys. We had a Gurukul in California, an ashram there, and we actually grew up there also. So anyhow, I want to talk tonight a little bit, I was saying, about what is like the soul of bhakti. Everything has different elements. The body is made of different parts, right? So everything has its different constituent parts. But unless we can understand the soul of something, the essence of something, then we can get confused by all the different parts. I think a famous parable in different traditions is that of the elephant and the blind men. You may have heard it. I think it's 4 blind men. They come across a very interesting structure and they all take hold of different parts of it and begin to argue about what it is. So one of the blind men gets the tail, one of the blind men grabs hold of the leg, one of the blind men gets hold of the tusks, right? One of the blind men is at the ear. And so then they say, what is this strange thing? One says, it's a rope, the tail. It's a rope. I feel it, it's him. I know what a rope is, it's bendy and it's, strong. Must have been a very peaceful elephant. Elephant looked at them, okay, they're blind, let them, She's used to playing with kids, probably. Very peaceful, loving elephant. So, okay, it's a rope. The other one said, no, it's not a rope, it's a pillar. Grabbed its trunk, its leg. Leg. It's a pillar. The other one, the horns, right? Oh, it's some kind of weapon or something. Yeah, weapon. And then the ear, it's like a fan. Some kind of fan. So there's so many parts to a thing, and the different traditions, they focus on a special field. They're specialists. Nowadays, it's very important to have specialists because it takes a lifetime of study to get good at something. So you can have a specialist in so many things: architecture, specialist in engineering, so many different kinds of engineering. In being a doctor, how many kinds of doctors are there? You go to an orthopedic for one. You don't go to a heart surgeon if you have a toenail infection. So there's a specialist in all these different fields. So the same thing is there in the yogic traditions or in different religions. There's so many different specialities. But what I want to try to get to is, what is the soul of something? And we hear a lot about bhakti also. So I was thinking about what is the true essence of bhakti? And to understand that, we're like the blind men. We are born, you could say, in a sense, blind. Because we're born. We have some knowledge, you could say, if you believe in reincarnation, it's kind of hidden, dormant knowledge. But we need teachers to help us understand the world. And especially in spiritual life, is something, it's very subtle. It's not externally apparent like these things that you can study and say, okay, this is what it's made of. But if you are to deny the spiritual element of life, you're also in ignorance. You can't deny that, because the fact that we're here together speaking about these things proves our existence and consciousness, right? Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. There is something transcendental to matter. Now you could argue about that forever about, is consciousness just a kind of, evolutionary product of matter, perhaps, you could get into those debates. Whatever it may be, there is such a thing as consciousness or the spirit. In our spiritual traditions, we know that the gross comes from the more subtle. Even if you look at architecture, I'll give you an example for matter versus spirit. What comes first, the building, the structure, the physical matter, or the blueprints? Blueprints comes first, especially if it's a very intricate building. Blueprints come first. What comes before the blueprints? The idea. The idea. Where's the idea come from? The architect. The architect. Where's the architect get the ideas from? That's a big question.
We're looking for that answer.
We're looking for the answer. Keami, who am I? Who am I? So even we are in existential, we're actually the first stage in spiritual development is that existential question. Who am I, or what am I? What am I made? What is that thing that the eyes throughout which I'm right now we're here in this room. We are perceiving the world, each other, these different fields. But what is that thing that is perceiving? Is it the eyes, just because I'm looking at you, my eyes are looking at you? But the eyes are just like the tail of the elephant. Or the trunk, or the ear. Because the eyes are only a part. What about my ears? Is my ear hearing you? So the eye, I don't say I hand. I say my hand, my eyes. So what is that I? So that we say is the self. The true self, known by different words. You could say the soul. Now, for different people, you have different ideas. You could say consciousness. In our bhakti-yoga tradition, we say consciousness is actually like the window to the soul. So the soul is actually something deeper. As we understand it, the soul is like a dormant seed that is waiting to awaken into its spiritual identity. You can think of it as spiritual potential, right? So a seed has the potential, a banyan tree seed the teeny little seed has the potential to be a huge tree. So in the Vedas, it says that the soul is more powerful and luminous than millions of suns. You hear stories of yogic sages who have magical powers because they are tapping into the powers inherent in the soul. If you take cultural examples of like Star Wars, the Force, may the Force be with you. That force is, may it be with you, it should be more like it is with you.
The Force is with you.
Huh? Is it a line? I don't know. I'm not so good at, it's been a while. But may the Force be with you, the Force is with you. The idea is that there is some kind of power waiting to be tapped into. That's the idea of a dormant energy. Even if you look in yoga, we're trying to awaken the Kundalini. The serpentine energy, the dragon energy, it's there. So now that's kind of a first stage in spiritual life. Before we can get into the really esoteric things of divine love, we have to understand I am something spiritual in essence. And I'm trying to find out that essence and realize, we know what we look like in this body, how tall we are, our gender, but what is the gender of our soul? What is the color? What is the shape? What is the personality? We have to discover these things. So the first stage in spiritual life is realizing that the spirit and matter, they are interwoven, but at the same time they're unique in their own right. And so the Vedas teach us that the body is a vehicle. The body, what is the body? The body is a vehicle. And the mind and the intelligence direct it, what we want to do with our life. It's just basic logic. The body's not directing itself. When you're asleep, the body's not moving around unless the subconscious is making it move around. Right? The body's waiting, and then when you get up, you start giving it commands. Go to the bathroom, take a shower, eat, go to work. So there's a directing intelligence. There's a mind, there's an intelligence. These are the subtle elements. The body is made of matter, earth, fire, air, water, ether. Then there's the higher principles, the mind, the intelligence, the ego. But what we understand, even if you look at yoga or the Sankhya Yoga, a delineation of the elements of existence. The 26 is the soul. There is some particle, some essence of this that is the true self. And we are trying to awaken that. So this is to awaken the soul. The process that we are following is called bhakti-yoga. There are many processes you could say to awaken the inner nature, to awaken the true self. What we follow is bhakti-yoga. So we understand this body is a vehicle. I can use it. I can crash it into a wall, or I can use it to drive somewhere that leads me to a great destination. So we want to take this body we have, this vehicle, and hopefully our guru or guide in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the charioteer for Arjuna. Because he's saying, okay, this body is described to be like a chariot, and the senses are like horses. And if we're not reining them in, controlling them, they're leading us in so many different directions and making us live a chaotic life. So we want the inner spirit. Krishna is described to be the Paramatma. Paramatma is the inner guide. But we have to take shelter of that conscience, higher conscience, that thing that tells you it's not good to murder somebody. That's the inner guide, Paramatma, and the soul telling you what is consciousness. Like consciousness and conscience, knowing the difference between right and wrong. So our understanding is that there's different, now once we understand that we are spiritual, the next level of understanding is realizing, well, if I'm spiritual, so is he, so is she, so are all of you. We all have that spark of divine consciousness. This is not a this is not a sectarian religious idea. You can go into Christianity or Buddhism. We're not sectarianists that are teaching you these ideas. No, the idea of the spirit or the divine spark of consciousness as part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit, that's universally acknowledged. Now, so this is the next level of understanding, and this is talked about in the Bhagavad Gita. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hasni Suni Chaiva Swapakicha Pandita Samadarshina. A wise man knows that he doesn't discriminate by gender, by race, by caste, because we're all the same spiritual essence, the spiritual soul. So that is the second stage of spiritual understanding. I am soul, and we're also that same equal. That's true equality. Understanding that spiritual essence of all of us. We're all interconnected because we're all emanations of that same supreme essence, the supreme consciousness. We call that the Parabrahman, the supreme source of existence, the supreme energy. It's described to be energy and energetic combined. Shakti, Shaktiman. And that's why we see in the Vedic traditions, the masculine and the feminine energies are always given equal honor. Because it's an understanding of the true energy and energetic, the power and the potency. It's described to be like fire. You see a fire or a light. A light has heat, a light has energy, radiates heat, and it radiates luminance. But it's also fire. You don't say fire is just heat or fire is just light. Fire is heat and light together. The heat and light is described to be the energy output. Law of thermodynamics, right? It's the energy, but then there's the energetic, the fire. So that's described to be the supreme God and the supreme goddess. And you see that in many forms, Shiva, Parvati. In so many different forms it appears. Our understanding is the highest expression of that divinity. The highest feature of it, the original root of it, is described as Radha Krishna.